we really looked into paintings in a different way to try and come up with something new, rather than going to photography or referencing films or somebody else's work. We tried to, make our own world from probably harder sources, actually.
This movie is spectacular. It is gorgeous with every single set. You guys did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can you talk to me a little bit about how the black and white element of the film impacted the set design?
The truth of it is that we didn't know that the beginning of the movie was going to be shot in black and white until 9 days out. We thought that some elements were going to be shot in black and white, and we thought they were actually going to be the flashback scenes where she's reanimated and brought back to life. However, Yorgos and Robbie like to do a lot of testing of film stocks because we shot on 35mm, and he really loved the black and white, and in particular he was shooting it in the half-finished Baxter's house, and the deepness of the textures in there, it looked fabulous, and so he decided that it warranted the possibility of shooting the beginning before she goes out into the world in black and white. Whether he knew for a long time he was going to do that, we don't know, but we think that if he had known, he didn't tell us blatantly, but he may have done, but he wouldn't wanted us to make decisions based on the fact that he was going to shoot it in black and white, because he sort of doesn't want to imprint too much his thinking on your work, basically, or what you're doing. He doesn't want you to second guess it, I suppose.
9 days out, that's crazy close.
It was too late. We were like, that's what it got it.
There's nothing we could do about it at that point. We couldn't instill it with something that worked better in black and white. And like James said, actually, we had all the texture there and the details. We lost some of we had some very nice details, sort of dip dyeing with really amazing shades that we lost. But other than that, really, the textures were there, which was good.
It's only really Bella's bedroom that I think we would have made different choices on had we known.
Yeah.
Really. And that the dip dyed curtains that Shona is mortified about losing were in Bella's room. And they did look really just unbelievably great, actually, the dip dye.
Yeah. They were sort of dipped from medical green into sort of this blood red. So they really looked unusual. And I think on black and white, you literally see one color.
Yeah, that might be the case. It looks really good though, so it works really well.
Good.
Thank you.
When you were looking at inspirations, what were some of the things you looked at? Did you look at the original book or movies? Or the other thing I noticed when I was watching is it felt like every shot felt like a painting. So were you looking at different art styles? Well,
you're right in that we really did rely heavily on paintings, mainly because actually everybody who looks at a painting interprets something different. You look at a John Singer Sargent painting, which we were looking at mainly for the characters and some of the textures. But what was painted as tulle or gauze, you could read as a fine plastic that was actually shiny, So I think we really looked into paintings in a different way to try and come up with something new, rather than going to photography or referencing films or somebody else's work. We tried to, make our own world from probably harder sources, actually, but it meant that we ended up somewhere unfamiliar.
Can you talk to me about kind of balancing the period piece aspect of it with the almost fantastical elements that come in throughout the movie? Because when we visit different locations or the cruise ship, it feels very almost otherworldly.
I think the era we were always trying to sort of go, okay, we're sort of in Victorian times, but really this world we are in is Bella's world. We are seeing it through her eyes, and she could see that as anything. She was sort of making stuff up. She didn't know so much. So she could see like a child with an open mind. She could imprint versions of herself on the world she was in. So really, this sort of fantastical side was just to try and keep you feeling like you were Bella throughout the film, that you were seeing the world as she would see it.
Yeah, we didn't really rely too much on period. We sort of borrowed more from the Georgian, especially in London, than Victorian. And we were
architecture, yeah.
Architecture, and we also did what we liked. You know, we were like, oh, we like this material. You know, all this plastic. You know, so we kind of didn't ever feel. I mean, I still don't feel like it's a period piece. We didn't approach it like it was a period piece. We approached it like it was we were free to do what we wanted. It was loosely based in that time, but you know, we didn't adhere to any of those rules. We made our own rules up.
That's such a cool perspective that we're seeing it through her eyes. It's very, very cool. Were there any maybe sets that like immediately popped in your mind when you read the script, or you're like, I know what this will look like, versus ones that were maybe a little bit more challenging to visualize or actually create?
No, I mean, I think that the world was so enormous. To see that world when you read the script, it wasn't there. I mean, it took a while to see Bella, to form her, and from then form Baxter. And actually, without the characters, there wasn't a world. So really, James, don't you think the characters sort of they were the seed in a way? Baxter, and how he would have made his house was the starting point of how we were going to approach the design. So really, we started there, and it grew from there.
Yeah, and spaces as well. I think you just see spaces, but they're not necessarily, you know, what they look like. The spaces that you know that this is going to happen in, and that's going to happen in, and then the space could be anything. It's sort of just blackness, but you know that there's the character. You see the characters, and we worked them out, and then within that we worked out the space, and then started referencing and putting ideas together. We wrote a dogma for what our worlds could be like, and just kept on referring back to that. Yeah, and it evolved from that. You know, we wanted to create an environment that these characters could exist in, and create a real world, as opposed to standalone sets that were just in a traditional sense, that there's the bedroom and then you go over here to but you know, we created immersive environments, and they evolved from the characters and out of the blackness of where the spaces were, I suppose.
I love that it was based on the characters, because it feels very fluid in the movie. And then can you talk about collaborating with the director, Yorgos, to bring this world to life from kind of his vision?
I think Yorgos went into this with such an open mind. And then really it was a process of a back and forth between us all, you know, incremental. And quite often, you know, we'd have so many meetings, and sometimes we hadn't made much progress, but he always wanted to be involved, to see it growing and put in, you know, his ideas and thoughts. So really, it really grew. It was very, very, and we had the time, didn't we, James? We did concepting stages when we didn't even know if the movie was going ahead. So we had time to sort of sit on it a bit, all of us. So I think we got used to the idea of maybe it, you know, is this too weird? I mean, there were so many designs we did that were way crazier than what you see. that got axed very early on. But yeah, it was an evolution for sure.
He doesn't like to go in with too many preconceptions, I don't think. And otherwise, I think that's why his filmmaking seems so fresh. He wants to. It was more of a design brief than a kind of idea of what the world would be. You know, he knew that he knew that we needed to build the sets, and he knew he wanted to use techniques from the 30s and the 50s, and that, you know, right up to LED screens. He talked about that and creating a handmade world that was handmade, that Bella could exist in. But with regards to what it would look like, that was, you know, he was like, you know, you two guys come to me with stuff, and you know, and as Shona said, you kept trying to push it even further, and then, you know, he'd pull you back and go, well, no, I'm not sure about that idea. That's a bit bonkers.
But not many. And actually, he was always, you can't second guess Yorgos. You just can't. No. So you offer everything you've got on a plate, and it's always a surprise the things that he responds to or doesn't respond to. I never worked it out. I don't think anybody has or can.
No, it's impossible. It's really, you can't work it out. Just got to offer as much up as you like, and then something will stick.
Yeah.
Like I said, I loved it. It was beautiful. I can't imagine weirder sets, so you're now going to have me try to come up with that. I'm very excited to see that, and I wish we got to see them. Thank you so much for coming to talk to me. I can't wait for more people to see this movie.